Human trafficking involves heinous crimes, usually against young girls, and because it occurs in the shadows of our society, it's sometimes hard to believe it actually takes place in our country and, in fact, right here in Connecticut. In reality, the state and law enforcement have received 456 reports of children possibly involved in trafficking since 2013, and that includes almost 200 such reports that came in just last year during 2016. So joining us now to look at this terrible exploitation impacting young girls is Tammy Sneed, who oversees human trafficking cases for the Department of Children and Families. Welcome and thanks for joining us here. So that is troubling, not just that it happens here in Connecticut, but in fact, there's a troubling increase in cases here in Connecticut in recent years. So to what do you attribute that?
I think it's twofold. I think general awareness, at least in the professional community, is increasing. So people are reporting it more often. But I also think with internet technology, kids are more vulnerable and being recruited and trafficked much easier.
And as you were telling me just before we came on the air here, people are becoming more aware, but probably more professionals who deal with this kind of thing, and the general population still might have a hard time believing it's taking place.
Correct. When I talk to the general community, they're still surprised, think it's something in the movies or someplace far, far away and not here.
So how do traffickers work? How do they lure kids in, and what kind of tactics do they use, mainly on the internet, right?
Correct. Most often it's developing a relationship with these kids via the internet, becoming the boyfriend, a friend, a person that's there for them when they're in crisis or just being an adolescent. And then there's also times where they do things like pretend they're a production agency or modeling company, again drawing adolescents in because of their vulnerabilities.
As someone who works on the front lines of this, do you think enough resources are being devoted at the state and local, even national level?
I think we've been doing some amazing things in Connecticut. I think we can always do more, and the number one issue on my radar right now is public awareness, so I appreciate you doing this interview today.
Well, let's go back to that. We talked about this. The human trafficking happens in the shadows, in the places where people don't look and don't see. What do you say to our viewers so that they can understand that this is a real problem and that it is happening here?
It is absolutely happening in Connecticut. Our referrals, almost 200 alone last year, occurred across the state. There has not been an area in Connecticut not affected. And again, internet makes these kids accessible, whether they're in a small community or whether they're in our bigger cities. So it's happening everywhere. We've seen every race, both genders, both girls and boys affected in the state. So it's happening more, and the majority of these kids are kids born and raised in Connecticut.
Is there an age group that they're most vulnerable?
Our age ranges in Connecticut average between 11 and 17. We've had a couple of younger children than 11, but the vast majority are early to mid-tweens.
So tomorrow is Trafficking Awareness Day nationally. So what's happening to raise awareness?
Correct. We in Connecticut are following the Blue Campaign's national awareness campaign, asking folks around the state to wear blue, take pictures, send them in to our DCF Heart team so we can post them. This is a great way for us to start this conversation in the general community.
All right, Tammy Sneed with the Department of Children and Families, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, Jen, back to you.
All right, thank you both very much. Coming up on the Fox 61 News at 5, a Westport caretaker under arrest accused of taking advantage of her elderly client, how she did it, and the charges she faces.
It's about time.
And later, a Connecticut veteran getting the recognition he deserves.